Okay, good morning all the students. Last class have been conducted long back. So let's recap quickly what we have covered in the last class and then move on to our third lecture under module 3. Can you see the presentation? Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay, in the last class, we have seen the comparison between Hadoop components with grid computing. So how anybody has the rights to admit students? Students keep joining, and if I keep admitting them, it will be difficult to continue with the class. Murli Krishna?
Ma'am, no, ma'am. We can't do that.
We can do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, no such options are available. Okay, Murli Krishna, if more than 3-4 people are waiting for admission, can you notify me?
Ma'am,
Yes,
excuse
ma'am.
me, ma'am.
Cannot see, ma'am.
Yeah, Akash.
Ma'am,
Uh,
there is a host control next to your meeting detail, ma'am.
where it is?
Below, ma'am, left side down.
Left side.
Yeah. Is there a shield type logo something?
Yeah, yeah.
Click on that and enable quick access, ma'am.
Quick access.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now everyone can join.
Yeah, let everyone, when turned off, the host must join first, something like that.
Yeah, if it is turned off.
Yeah, quick access is enabled now, right? So everyone can join automatically.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akash. Okay, in the last class, we have seen the comparison between Hadoop components with grid computing and its comparison also with volunteer computing, right? So what are the disadvantages of grid computing, or what are the drawbacks of grid computing? Grid computing or high performance computing or distributed computing, in such kind of approaches, we divide the data onto multiple systems, and all these multiple nodes, and all these nodes are connected using LAN. Now, when some analysis has to happen, or when some work has to be performed on the data have to be transferred between the nodes across the LAN. In such cases, bandwidth bottlenecks used to arise if more volumes of data used to be transferred between the nodes. In order to avoid that, MapReduce overcomes that by taking the mechanism of data locality, where the computation is sent to the nodes where the data is residing, rather than transferring data over the bandwidths. Okay, this help to come over, or overcome the network bottlenecks due to transfer of high volumes of data, right? So that is the difference between grid computing and volunteer computing. In grid computing, data used to be transferred across the nodes, on the LAN across the nodes, but in but in MapReduce, you have to just transfer the computation where the data is actually residing, according to the concept called as data locality. Okay, and what is the comparison between Hadoop components with volunteer computing? What is volunteer computing? Whenever large volumes of data needs to be analyzed, and that is actually more when compared to the risk of transferring data from one place to another place. In such cases, some projects like SETI at Home, that is Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, they take computation power voluntarily donated from across the world. Means if you have your computer idle for some time, in that time you can donate your processing power of your system to this project, so that they send you some radio telescopic data and you analyze the data by running it running the analysis cycle on your system and give them back the results, and they'll consolidate the results to get some comprehensive output. Okay, now in this kind of projects, the data is run on untrusted machines, but in MapReduce the data is run on trusted machines which are hosted at a particular data center. Right, that is the difference between volunteer computing and Hadoop, MapReduce. In volunteer computing, data is transferred to the computers of volunteers who donated their CPU cycles to analyze the data. And in order to combat cheating, they transfer one work unit to 3 different volunteers, and at least 2 of the results have to agree upon in order to conclude that that is the reliable result. Okay, that is called as, and that is the approach in volunteer computing. But in MapReduce, the data is processed or analyzed on trusted machines which are hosted at a data center, which are interconnected, here the analysis cycles will be very faster in MapReduce. And in volunteer computing, if you compare the the risk of transferring the data to the volunteers systems, that is very, very lesser than the computation power that is required to analyze the data. But in MapReduce, we are trying to make the data locality concept implemented, so that the network bottlenecks or the bandwidth issues doesn't arise when transferring the data between the nodes. Means you're not actually transferring the data between the nodes, but you're transferring the computation between the nodes and taking the computation where the data is actually residing, so that the network issues doesn't arise like in grid computing. Okay. And also we have covered on the brief history of Hadoop, how the inventors of Hadoop started with their initial project and how slowly it has evolved into Hadoop by taking white papers that are published by Google. Now in this lecture, we are going to cover on Apache, other projects under Apache Hadoop and Hadoop ecosystem, and also what are the differences between Hadoop releases. Means what are the features that are introduced by using the first version, and how second version has more better features, that we are going to see. Okay, now although Hadoop is best known for MapReduce and its distributed file system, the term is also used for a family of related projects. Now, normally when we say Hadoop, 2 words that come into our mind, 2 words that strike our mind are MapReduce and HDFS. HDFS is used for storage and MapReduce is used for analysis or processing of the data. Now, other than these 2, there are many other related projects that add up to the features of this Hadoop. So the term is also used for a family of related projects that fall under the umbrella of infrastructure for distributed computing and also at the same time large-scale data processing. And all of the core projects are hosted by the Apache Software Foundation, which provides support for a community of open source software projects, including the original HTTP server. Now let us see what are those what are those other related projects that are included under the wider umbrella of Hadoop. The first project we can discuss about is Common. This Common is a set of components and interfaces for distributed file systems and general input-output. So this general input-output may contain serialization, Java remote processor calls, and persistent data structures. What is serialization? If you want to transfer the data can be converted into objects and it can be transferred over longer distances, and once again it can be deserialized in order to get back the original data, right? That is called as serialization. The transfer of data will be made easier through this serialization by converting the original data into form of objects, right? So for serialization, for Java, remote procedure calls means if you want to invoke some procedures which are stored at a remote system, that can be done through Java RPC. And also persistent data structures. If you want to store the data persistently, not only for temporary amount of time, but if you want to persistently or permanently store the data, then how to work with those data structures, right? This component, this project common is a set of components and interfaces which work on distributed file systems and general input output that uses these mechanisms like serialization, Java remote procedure calls, and persistent data structures. And the next project under this Hadoop is Avro. Avro is a serialization system for efficient cross-language remote procedure calls and persistent data storage. This Avro is also used for serialization, and it efficiently deals with cross-language remote procedure calls. Say if your interface is working with a different language and you want to invoke some procedures written in a completely different language. In such cases, this cross-language communication, this cross-language invoking of remote procedures will be enabled by this Avro. You remember, when you are working with large volumes of projects or when you're working with large volumes of data, this you may have to work with different kinds of interfaces and also the backends built using various programming languages. Now, when you are trying to work with such kind of mix of languages, cross-language remote procedure calls can be enabled by using this Avro. And the next type of project is MapReduce. MapReduce is a distributed data processing model and execution environment that runs on large clusters of commodity machines. This MapReduce and HDFS, we have already touched upon the concepts, but once again, according to the list of projects that are available under Hadoop, we are going to talk about them once again. So in MapReduce, we can call it as a distributed data processing model because the data doesn't reside on a single system because of its voluminous character, right? When the data is too big, when the data is voluminous, when the data is too large, in such cases, the data can't be stored on a single system, because if you store the large volume of data on single system, what will happen? To access the data, it will take more time. To process the data, it will take more time. And to produce the results also, the latency is very high, right? But if you distribute the data onto multiple nodes, then you can provide simultaneous access to all the data on multiple nodes so that the data can be read quickly, processed simultaneously, and the results can be consolidated and produced to the client in no time, right? For that, MapReduce is used. MapReduce is a distributed data processing model and execution environment that runs on. How is it made possible? How simultaneous data processing is made possible? By running it on large clusters of commodity machines. Large clusters of commodity machines means group of nodes hosted on different racks, and all those racks assembled in the form of clusters at a single data center. That is called as large clusters of commodity machines. Now, all these clusters will interact with each other. All the nodes in this cluster will interact with each other in order to accomplish the task of quick data access and further data analysis and processing. Right? So that the framework used here is the MapReduce. Okay, MapReduce enables distributed data processing and execution environment by running the tasks on large clusters of commodity machines. And what does HDFS do? HDFS stands for Hadoop Distributed File System. This is a distributed file system that runs on, again, large clusters of commodity machines. Okay, this HDFS enables the data to be stored on large clusters of commodity machines in order to provide simultaneous access, quicker access to the data. And also they have various mechanisms that underlie such as fault tolerance, single point, avoiding the single point of failure, and avoiding disk failures or handling disk failures, scalability, reliability. All these can be accomplished, all these can be achieved by using these MapReduce and Hadoop components, HDFS components. And next project under Hadoop is Pig. This is a data flow language and execution environment for exploring very large data sets. And Pig runs on HDFS and MapReduce clusters. So Pig is at a higher level, which uses HDFS and MapReduce underlying it. Okay, so Pig is like a scripting language. It is something like almost like writing queries, scripts to query the data set that is stored on HDFS. So if you want to query the data sets that are stored on HDFS, you can use this scripting language called as Pig. This is a data flow language and execution environment for exploring, for querying large data sets. And this Pig runs on HDFS and MapReduce clusters at the higher level. And next project is Hive. Hive is a distributed data warehouse, and Hive manages data stored in HDFS and provides a query language based on SQL. Sometimes we call it as HSQL, that is HQL, that is Hive query language. This is a distributed data warehouse. Hive serves as a distributed data warehouse, and it manages data stored in the Hadoop distributed file system and provides an interface to write your queries in the form of a query language by using a query language, that is HQL, which is almost similar to SQL, and which is translated by the runtime engine to MapReduce jobs. Remember, in RDBMS, if you write some SQL queries, they are directly posed to the database. When you write some commands in SQL, when you write some queries in SQL, those queries are directly posed to the database that is underlying. But in Hive, all these high-level queries that are written using HQL will be translated by the runtime engine into MapReduce jobs, right? There is an intermediate phase. Hive queries are converted into MapReduce jobs by the runtime engine, and these MapReduce jobs are executed against the data set that is stored on multiple nodes, okay? So that is how we can query the data that is stored on the HDFS by using HQL. And what about this HBase? HBase is a distributed column-oriented database. How column-oriented databases are useful for us? You might have seen in regular relational database management systems, you have a fixed schema. Schema is static there. If you decide the schema for a table, then you have to enter the data in that particular format only. Now later, after the data is entered, if you want to change the data type, it is not possible, right? There is a static schema which is very rigid, which doesn't provide us any flexibility of changing either the schema or the data in the tables. But HBase is a column-oriented database. Column-oriented databases take the data, whatever you give to the data set, and according to the data that is entered into the columns, that data type is presumed for that particular data. Right? Did you understand what I'm trying to tell? In RDBMS, we worked with static schema. But in HBase, we can work with dynamic schema. When you store the data, according to the data that is entered into the columns, the data type is assumed by the database. That schema is flexible. That schema is dynamic. So according to the data that is entered, the schema can, the data type can be decided. Okay, that is the advantage of HBase. HBase is a distributed column-oriented database. Underline this. This is very important. Column-oriented database. And HBase uses HDFS for its underlying storage. Did you observe for most of these projects, the underlying components are HDFS and MapReduce. That is why when we talk about Hadoop, we mainly talk about the two critical components, HDFS and MapReduce, right? Because all the other projects are built upon these two main components, HDFS and MapReduce. So HBase here is a distributed column-oriented database, and HBase uses HDFS for its underlying storage and supports both batch style computations. If you want to perform the computations in a batch mode, it is possible by using MapReduce, and at the same time, it also supports point queries like in RDBMS. That is the goodness of this HBase project. What it is doing, it supports both batch style computations using MapReduce to process bulk amounts of data and point queries, which will help us to perform random reads. Okay, if you want to perform random reads, if you want to perform some point queries like quick access of the data, that can also be done by HBase as well as batch style computations using MapReduce. Now the next project that can be quoted here is Zookeeper. Zookeeper is a distributed, highly available coordination service. So this Zookeeper will help to coordinate between the distributed components or distributed data. You know that data is stored on HDFS by using fragmentation. Fragmentation means dividing the main data set into parts, and that those parts are hosted on various nodes. Say this is your main data set. This data set is divided into different parts, and all these parts are hosted on multiple nodes, right? So one data set resides on multiple nodes. Now, how the coordination between these nodes is maintained? By using this Zookeeper. Zookeeper is a distributed, highly available coordination service, and Zookeeper provides primitives such as distributed logs that can be used for building distributed applications. Now, when the data is distributed, there might arise some issues like synchronization, right? Say data is modified on one node, and same data copy is residing on another node. Even that node's data, that node's copy also have to be modified. You know that data loss is encountered, or data loss is overcome in HDFS by using replication of data. What is replication? Mirroring of the data. Means one data set's copy is stored on at least 3 nodes. The default replication factor of HDFS is 3. Means one data copy is stored in on 3 different nodes. Okay, so data sets part. Say data is divided into D1, D2, and D3. Main data set is divided into 3 parts: D1, D2, and D3. Now D1, 3 copies are maintained on 3 different nodes, and D2 again 3 copies are maintained, and D3 again 3 copies are maintained on 3 different nodes. Okay, this is called as replication or data duplication. This helps us when one node fails, the data is not permanently lost. It helps us in such a way that the data is always available on another node. Though the data is lost from through one node, it can still be recovered from another node, right? That is how data loss is overcome by using this HDFS. Now, when you're storing data on multiple nodes, same copy on multiple nodes, if one copy is modified, then the same modification have to be reflected on the other two copies also. That is called as synchronizing the data updations. For that, Zookeeper provides distributed logs. Until the data is written safely onto all these three nodes, it doesn't commit the transaction. You know what is committing of a transaction, right? The transaction has to be completely executed or not computed or not executed at all. Okay, that is the meaning of a transaction. Some task is executed in its entirety, completely, or not executed at all. It has to be completely cancelled. No partial execution of transactions are allowed. Same methodology is used here in HDFS also. And in order to maintain the consistency in the data, in order to maintain the integrity of the data, so that updation done to one copy reflects for the other copies also, for that Zookeeper uses distributed logs. Okay, unless all the copies are safely written, it will not release the log on that particular transaction. Okay, this is done by Zookeeper. Now let us read it once again. Zookeeper is a distributed, highly available coordination service, and Zookeeper provides primitives such as distributed logs that can be used for building distributed applications, that can be used for managing distributed applications, so that data integrity and consistency will not be lost, right? So the next project is Sqoop. Sqoop is a tool for efficient bulk transfer of data between structured data stores such as relational databases and HDFS. Why do you require compatibility between these two kinds of storage structures, storage mechanisms? We know that relational databases are traditional databases which have a static structure, and the databases, the data sets that are stored on HDFS have dynamic structure. Now, organizations can't immediately shift from traditional approach to this dynamic approach. That is why when the organizations are capturing the data into relational databases, that data from relational databases can be transferred in bulk to HDFS by using this Sqoop tool. Okay, so when the organizations are still working with relational database mechanism, still the data can be captured into those relational databases and they can be transferred safely onto HDFS in order to analyze large volumes of data. So they are trying to harness the benefits of both relational databases and HDFS, right? So for that, what is the project they use? Sqoop. Sqoop is a tool for efficient bulk transfer of data between structured data stores like relational databases and HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. And the next project is Oozie. Oozie is a service for running and scheduling workflows of Hadoop jobs, including MapReduce, Pig, Hive, and Sqoop jobs. So if you want to analyze the data using MapReduce, if you want to write scripts using Pig, if you want to write queries using Hive, or if you want to perform bulk transfer of data between traditional RDBMS to HDFS. For all these jobs, you are provided with an interface by using this Oozie service where you can just pick up the components. Something like in OMD, what you do, you take the components from the palette, drop it onto your canvas, and just build some flow between them. In the same way, Oozie also provides you with an interface where you can pick the components, place them on the screen, and connect them to construct the workflows so that start gathering the data, start cleaning the data and transfer the data, analyze the data. All these mechanisms, all these tasks can be done all these tasks can be done one after the other by setting up appropriate workflows that are available in the interface of this OOSI. Now let us see what are the Hadoop releases that have been released so far. The 1.x release series is a continuation of the 0.20 release series and contains the most stable versions of Hadoop currently available. So 1.x has some features which are stably working so far. And this series includes secure Kerberos authentication, which prevents unauthorized access to Hadoop data. Because large volumes of data is being stored on Hadoop using HDFS and being processed using MapReduce, security of data is a critical issue. Okay, that security of data is provided by using this Kerberos authentication, and that is provided with this 1.x version. And the 0.22 and 2.x release series are not currently stable. Now, what are the new features that are introduced by using this version 2.x? 2.x includes several major new features such as a new MapReduce runtime called MapReduce 2, implemented on a new system called Yarn. This feature is not available with 1.x version. What is that feature? It is a MapReduce runtime feature, which is called as MapReduce 2, and it is implemented by a new system called Yet Another Resource Negotiator, which is shortly called as Yarn. Yarn is Yet Another Resource Negotiator, which is a general resource management system for running distributed applications. In order to coordinate between the distributed applications, in order to better manage the resources, in order to better allocate the tasks onto the task nodes. You will understand in the next chapter what are name nodes, what are task nodes, all these you will understand in the next chapter. Just stay tuned with the terms. The coordination between various tasks, the coordination between different copies of data hosted on multiple nodes, all this, the resource allocation, all this is efficiently achieved by using this Yet Another Resource Negotiator, which was not present in 1.x version. And HDFS Federation, there is another feature called as HDFS Federation, which partitions the HDFS namespace across multiple name nodes to support clusters with very large number of files. Now, what is a name node? First, understand what is a name node. When the data is divided over multiple nodes, the data about the metadata, you know, data about data is called as metadata, right? So the data about where the partition data is stored, on which node the data, a particular data resides, that information, that metadata will be stored with a name node. Now, as the number of nodes on a cluster increases, and as you go on storing very large number of files, you need more metadata to be stored. In that case, you can't manage with a single name node. In that case, you have to store the data, metadata on multiple name nodes. Again, all these name nodes have to coordinate between them. All these name nodes have to cooperatively work together, have to collaborate together. That is enabled by HDFS Federation, and this feature is available only in 2.x version. It is not available in 1.x. And another feature that is introduced in this version is HDFS High Availability. This HDFS High Availability removes the name node as a single point of failure by supporting standby name nodes. This is the main keyword you have to remember under high availability. Even in 1.x version, high availability is present, but as the volumes of data increases, name nodes have to be increased. When name nodes keep increasing, chances of failure also keep increasing. So you have to maintain appropriate standby nodes in order to ensure that a name node will not act as a single point of failure. What is single point of failure? If one node fails, if the entire system is collapsed, then it is called as single point of failure. Now such single point of failures are avoided in this version 2.x by supporting standby name nodes to overcome the failures, and that is called as HDFS high availability. This ensures HDFS high availability, right? Now here there is a consolidated table which will help us to see what are the features supported by Hadoop release series. The first feature here is secure authentication, which is provided by 1.x version, not available in the 0.22 version, but again available in 2.x version. And the next feature, old configuration names. There are some configuration names which hold good with this 1.x version, but these configuration names are deprecated or they have become obsolete in 0.22 and 2.x versions. Okay, and in the new configuration names which are introduced in the later versions are not available in 1.x versions, that is obvious, and they are introduced into 0.22 version and 2.x version. And old MapReduce APIs, they are available in 1.x, 0.22 and 2.x version also. And new MapReduce APIs, yes, they are available in 1.x version, but there are some missing libraries which will not support certain features, but they are completely available in 0.22 and 2.x versions. And MapReduce 1 runtime, which is a classic feature, is available in 1.x and 0.22 versions, but it is not available in 2.x version. Because in 2.x version, a new feature called as MapReduce 2 is introduced. Okay, so MapReduce 2 runtime, which is called as yet another resource negotiator, that is YARN. This is not available in 1.x and 0.22, but is available in the latest version. And HDFS Federation also is not available in the initial versions, but is available with the new version. Even HDFS high availability is not available with the previous versions, but it is available with 2.x version. So what we understood here, what are the new features that are introduced by Hadoop 2.x release? YARN, yet another resource negotiator, which will handle the resources and distributed data processing efficiently, and HDFS Federation, which will help to overcome the failures by supporting standby name nodes. By hosting more number of name nodes. Really sorry. HDFS Federation will help us to deal with name node failures by having multiple name nodes in order to store large volumes of data, metadata, by having a coordination between multiple name nodes, or we can call it as HDFS Federation. Federation means what? Collection of various parts, right? So if you have name node 1, name node 2, name node 3, which store metadata of large volumes of data, then there is a federation that is developed between that is established between, there is a coordination that is established between these name nodes, which is called as HDFS Federation. Okay, so these name nodes will work together in order to overcome any issues with large volumes of data storage. And the last one is the third feature with 2.x version that is introduced is HDFS high availability, which is ensured by supporting standby name nodes so that it can overcome failures. If at all the primary name node fails, immediately the metadata will be kept available with the secondary name nodes. Okay, so there is no chance of any metadata loss because of the presence of this HDFS high availability feature in 2.x version. Okay, this is how we complete our third chapter. And in the next class, we'll move on to fourth module. Before that, do you have any doubts so far, students? Okay, then we'll move on to next module in the next class. I'll stop the recording before I take the attendance.